I'm sitting here with Mrs. Neerja Birla, who is the founder and chairperson of Empower at the National Mental Health Movement Speak Up. So, Mrs. Birla, I wanted to ask you, how can we address the huge gap in demand and supply of trained mental health professionals?
So, Nina, I think that there is a huge treatment gap because of our sheer numbers. Actually, our population is so high, and also obviously there aren't that many mental health professionals, trained personnel, or hospitals dedicated to mental health care services. So, I think, I mean, it'll have to be a multi-prong approach, because we will have to, say for example, with the existing psychiatric colleges, the numbers will have to increase so that you have more people more trained personnel passing out of colleges. So you can have more psychologists, more psychiatrists. We also obviously need to have many more mental health care facilities, because 43 hospitals is really small. So probably, you know, create more mental health care facilities. So I think by kind of increasing the number of doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, as well as hospitals, I think having that multi-prong approach is something that will help us bridge the treatment gap.
And what do you feel about training non-mental health care people?
So, you know, we do have, that's a great idea actually, because I mean, at the end of the day, you also need people who can become your first point of contact.
Absolutely.
So just the way you have people training in physical first aid, we have a course of, it's a 14-hour course actually, which trains people for mental health first aid.
Oh, wonderful.
It is, and actually, so that, you know, you can become the first point of contact. It gives you the basic mental health hygiene, you know, what the red flags are, what should you be looking for, what do you do when somebody approaches you with a mental health concern. So that is what you're saying, like just training lay people to just become the first point of contact and giving them just about knowledge, so that if somebody approaches them, they know what to do, or they can identify people within their community, within their ecosystem, as to having an issue, and then, you know, then they go on forward to a mental health professional.
And I'm quite excited, in fact, today that we have John Naslund with us from Harvard Medical School, the PhD, who's doing a lot of work in Bhopal.
Right.
Training layman counselors, and I really hope that we can learn a bit from the model that he has.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we are working at a layman counselor model ourselves at Empower. We're in the middle of, we are sort of working it out, and it's a model that I think should work for us as well. So I am quite excited about that.
What is your engagement with schools and colleges?
So, you know, I think that it's very important to start young. For two reasons. One, prevention and early intervention. Obviously, the prognosis is much better. Yes. A lot of illnesses can be cured, and if not cured, at least can be prevented. And the second reason why I think it's very important to go into schools and colleges is because when you start young, you're inculcating that sense about mental health, illnesses, about concerns at a very early on in life, and that also helps children realize that it's a very commonplace thing. Just the way you have a fever, you can have a mental health issue. So when you start young, the stigma is much less. They grow up knowing that things like that do exist, and there are solutions available, and it's okay if you are not feeling mentally well. So it's very important to start with schools and colleges. We are really trying our level best, reaching out to schools, reaching out to colleges with our own programs, with bespoke workshops, with the mental health first aid program, because I really do believe that it's important to get to the children and also reach out to the parents and the teachers, because they are their first point of contact. Like I keep feeling and I keep saying, it has to come in from all sides. We have to address the issue, we have to tackle it from all sides possible.
Part of the curriculum, does it include kindness and compassion as well, and gratitude and mindfulness and meditation?
At this point in time, it doesn't. But we at the Aditya Birla World Academy are we've put together a program actually, which is a mental health program. It's part of the curriculum, and we are developing it as a progressive curriculum. So just the way you have a math and a history and a geography, we have a mental health program, which starts right from grade 1, goes up to grade 12. It's progressive, and obviously it's age appropriate. You know, if you're talking about anxiety, depression, for example, it's age appropriate. So, you know, it could show in forms of, say, bullying at a younger age, and then going up higher, how it changes its form. So the idea is, again, it's very important to become a part of the curriculum. I mean, otherwise, how do you how do you give them the knowledge right from the start? So yes, we are trying to do that, and I'm really hoping that kids take to it. We also have workshops for parents, which are part of that program, because they also need to be educated about it. We also have workshops for teachers. So I'm quite excited about that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So you do extend your workshops to other schools and colleges as well?
That's right. We are extending it to other schools and colleges as well.
Oh, lovely. So if I was to ask you that, how is Empower trying to alleviate the stigma around mental health? I mean, considering we don't have that many champions out there. I mean, when you look at UK, you look at the royal family standing up, you look at Lady Gaga. I mean, it's wonderful over here. I mean, we have Deepika, we have Ileana, we have like barely 2.5 voices.
Yeah.
So what is Empower doing to alleviate the stigma?
So, we are doing a couple of things again. I mean, we're doing a lot of things. So we run campaigns. So we're running campaigns on social media, because that's, I think, is the best way to reach out to the youth. So video campaigns and just social media campaigns. That's one way of reaching out. We also have a music fest. This is our second year. It's called Empower Fest. Again, trying to reach out to the youth and other people, via the platform of music. We have a cycle ride, which is going to be the 4th year in Feb. Again, reaching out to different communities. So we're doing campaigns, we're doing activities, ground-based activities, reaching out to different communities, so that we get everybody together and kind of create a ripple effect.
So these are specific to Bombay, or are you planning to extend the work that you're doing? What is the vision that you have for Empower?
Well, vision is that the world is a small place. It's a global village. So that's the vision. But yes, to start with, these activities are, of course, the ground activities are in Bombay. So the cycle ride, the Empower Fest, are Bombay based. But social media is all over. So we run a lot of campaigns. We just had one recently called Suno Dekho Kaho, which is a pledge that we are wanting and encouraging corporates and everybody to take. That Suno Dekho Kaho, so speak up. And that's what the FICCI movement is also about, that speak up about the cause, speak up about the concern. We're trying to promote that it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay not to seek help. So, via these campaigns, we're trying to promote and alleviate the stigma around mental health.
You mentioned corporates right now. So mental health wellness is often considered a luxury, whereas it's something that's part and parcel of our daily lives.
Absolutely.
Every single person, nobody can say that they're not touched by it.
Absolutely.
Might be varying levels, anxiety or stress or depression, and even graver illnesses. How can organizations help make mental health care accessible to each and everyone?
So, organizations and corporates have such a large platform that I wish they would take advantage of it. I mean, if the HR departments decide to give it priority, I mean, there are two things. One is, of course, part of the funding. So just the way you've spent on CSR, if they decide to spend a part of the funding on mental health awareness, so, maybe be part of campaigns, drives, activations, if organizations can do that, or like we at Empower have many bespoke workshops for corporates, standalone workshops, where we are wanting to increase the mental health literacy amongst organizations. If there are many other people like Empower who are willing to go out there and do workshops for the corporates, I think it'll be great. I mean, all the HR department has to do is just call Empower and just ask for a workshop, and we're ready with a whole plethora of them.
Because right now the scenario is so scary and sad that, God forbid, you show any emotion at work, your chances of growth are negligible.
Absolutely.
And your prospects of a future job are close
So
to
that's
nil.
another thing that we are advocating, is that you need to include mental sick leave also as a part of sick leaves, because just the way you can be physically unwell, you can also be mentally unwell. So that needs to be incorporated. I think just creating a more productive and a more positive environment, maybe having counselors on board, so that if somebody is having trouble on a day-to-day basis, they can at least just go and speak to the counselor. Most organizations today have doctors who are looking after their physical health.
Yes.
Why not have a counselor on board also looking after your mental health? What we don't realize is that a lot of times we may be going to work, but we're just not all there. And a lot of productive time is lost because of that. So if you just have a counselor on call, it may just help, or just increase the mental health literacy so that a person suffering from stress or even depression, anxiety doesn't feel awkward to talk about it. It just needs to become common parlance that, I'm just not having a good day, or I may be. And the other thing to understand is that a depressed person or a person suffering from depression or anxiety can be a highly functional individual too. I mean, just having a mental illness does not mean that you're not productive. And that's what we're trying to do at Empower. We're trying to alleviate the stigma and trying to make people realize that everybody has a right to lead a productive life. And your illness can be cured, can be managed, and you can lead a very productive life.
What I find very interesting is that when I talk to friends and family about stress and anxiety, I find that the ones who have anxiety are overachievers because they don't want to miss out a single detail. Yeah. They want to make sure that everything is done.
Absolutely.
All the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed.
Yeah.
So,
and very often that gets missed out because a high achiever always just believes that how can I be suffering from anxiety? And you kind of just push it under the carpet, and I think the human mind is just such that you start thinking of it as a personal failing.
Yes.
Which is not the case actually, So I think if we start understanding that having a mental illness does not mean that you have personally failed or it's a shortcoming, I think that will help us come to terms with it much easier.
So I wanted to ask you that as part of the workshops that you do you talk about the neuroplasticity of the mind? Because it's a very promising thing if people realize that, if you meditate or if you try and change your behavioral patterns with cognitive behavioral therapy,
yes,
there's hope.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Your neurons get rewired.
Absolutely.
So do you talk about that?
So yeah, I mean, as a part of the workshop which does CBT, those bits are covered because it is very much part of CBT.
So how can corporates play a role in mental health advocacy according to you?
So like I said earlier, maybe, firstly start it at their own premises and their own offices, kind of becoming more sensitive to mental health concerns so that the employers also feel comfortable talking about it. Maybe include mental sick leave as part of sick leaves, have counselors on board. These are little things that they can do on their campus itself. And more than that, I think if they can, mental health needs a lot of funding. So if they are willing to share, to give a part of their funding for mental health initiatives, that also can help in really, taking the campaigns at another level.
We spoke the previous time about your health regime. I really would love for you to share with people that how you keep yourself healthy mentally and physically.
So, that's a good question because I've just come back from a trek. And I was in Nepal for 7 days, did the Manaslu trek circuit. For me, that was just an amazing experience. It was a very arduous trek because of weather conditions being very harsh, living conditions being very difficult. But it was just such an amazing experience. I think that for me is not only a spiritual experience, but I think it just helps me ground myself. It just helps me just feel much better. So I think whatever works for everybody. Different things work for different people. So whatever works for you, the activity that gives you peace of mind is something that you should do more of.
Just find whatever your meditative tool is.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neela.